Some maps show places that shouldn't exist. Tonight, Maya Chen would discover why reality bends when cartography becomes consciousness. The office hummed with the steady drone of servers and the blue glow of 17 monitors. Maya Chen rubbed her eyes and glanced at the clock. 2:47 a.m. She was alone on the 23rd floor of TerraMap Solutions, swimming in a sea of GPS error reports that couldn't wait until morning. She clicked through another batch of corrections. Wrong street names in Portland. A missing bridge in Denver. Routine stuff. The satellite imagery loaded in crisp detail, and Maya began her methodical work of updating the digital world to match reality. The next report made her pause. Crescent Drive in suburban Milwaukee. User reported the street didn't exist. Maya pulled up the satellite view and frowned. There it was, clear as day. A perfectly normal residential street lined with modest homes and oak trees. She cross-referenced with 3 other mapping services. All showed Crescent Drive, but the city planning database had no record of it. Maya tried the county assessor's office. Nothing. Property records showed an empty lot, where the satellite image displayed a full neighborhood. She zoomed in closer. The houses looked real. She could see cars and driveways, backyard swing sets, even what appeared to be Christmas lights, still hanging from gutters in March. She ran a historical comparison, pulling up imagery from 5 years ago. The street wasn't there. 3 years ago, still nothing. Last year's update showed the same empty lot as the property records. But today's satellite feed showed a fully established neighborhood that looked decades old. Maya's coffee had gone cold in her mug. She took a sip anyway, the bitter liquid doing nothing to settle the growing unease in her stomach. Data corruption happened, sure, but not like this. Not with this level of detail. She could make out individual roof shingles, garden hoses coiled beside front steps, a child's bicycle lying on its side in a front yard. She picked up her phone to call the overnight supervisor, then hesitated. How do you explain that a street appeared out of nowhere? That houses with decades of wear existed in a place that was supposed to be empty? Instead, she opened a new case file and began documenting everything. Timestamps, database queries, satellite coordinates. If this was some kind of system glitch, she needed evidence. The servers hummed louder, or maybe she was just noticing the sound more in the oppressive quiet of the empty office. Maya saved her work and moved to the next error report, but her eyes kept drifting back to Crescent Drive. In the enhanced satellite view, she could swear she saw movement in one of the windows, just a flicker, like someone had walked past a lamp. She told herself it was nothing. Compression artifacts in the imaging. But her hands trembled slightly as she reached for her mouse, and the blue glow from her monitors suddenly felt less like illumination and more like something watching her back. The next error report showed another impossible street. Then, another. Maya's breathing quickened as she pulled up case after case of places that shouldn't exist. Elm Grove Terrace in Phoenix, a cul-de-sac in the desert where city records showed only vacant land. Riverside Park in downtown Houston, complete with playground equipment and walking trails, invisible to every database except the satellite feeds. 7 impossible locations in the past hour, all perfectly detailed, all completely absent from official records. Maya switched to the live satellite feed of her own building. The view showed the familiar glass and steel structure from above, but something was wrong with the angle. The parking garage should be on the north side, but the image showed it to the east. The main entrance faced the wrong direction entirely. She refreshed the feed. The building snapped back to its correct orientation for a moment. Then slowly, she watched it happen in real time, rotated again to the wrong position. Buildings don't move. Satellites don't lie. But Maya watched her workplace twist on the screen like a slow-motion pinwheel, responding to her attention. She tried to make a correction, typing in the proper coordinates, the correct building orientation. The moment she clicked save, the system undid her changes. Not an error message, just a silent reversion. As if something was watching her work and disagreeing with every edit. Maya's palms were slick with sweat. She tried again, this time with a simple street name correction in downtown Seattle. She typed Pine Street over the incorrect Evergreen Avenue label. The change held for exactly 3 seconds before reverting. She tried a different approach, pulling up the raw data feeds. But as her fingers moved across the keyboard, new streets appeared on the maps faster than she could catalog them. Entire neighborhoods bloomed into existence between one screen refresh and the next. Shopping centers materialized in fields. Bridges spanned rivers that had never needed crossing. The changes weren't random. They formed patterns, spiraling outward from central points like ink bleeding through paper. And at the center of each spiral, Maya noticed with growing dread, was a location she had looked at. Every impossible street connected back to one of her searches. She pushed away from her desk, the office chair rolling backward until it hit the wall. The monitors glowed accusingly, displaying a world that shifted and writhed under her gaze. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights sparkled normally, unchanged. But on her screens, that same city twisted into impossible configurations. Maya reached for her phone to call someone, anyone, but stopped when she saw her own reflection in the black screen. Behind her reflection, barely visible, was the faint outline of another monitor showing her building's floor plan. She turned around. Her workstation only had 3 monitors. There was no 4th screen, but in the reflection, she could see it clearly. And the floor plan it displayed showed corridors that extended far beyond the building's actual footprint. Rooms that couldn't exist. A layout that made no architectural sense. Maya turned back to face her monitors, but now she couldn't shake the feeling that something was looking back. The maps were learning from her attention, growing stronger with every glance. Maya's primary monitor flickered and displayed a new view. Her building's 23rd floor shone from directly above. She could see her own office, her desk, even the coffee mug sitting beside her keyboard. But the perspective was impossible. No satellite could see through the roof with this clarity. A red dot pulsed on the floor plan. Her exact location. As she shifted in her chair, the dot moved with her. She was being mapped in real time. Maya stood up abruptly, knocking her chair backward. The red dot on the screen moved accordingly. She took 3 steps to the left. The dot tracked her movement with perfect precision, like a predator following prey. But the floor plan showed something else that made her blood freeze. The office extended much further than it should. Corridors branched off from her workspace in directions where she knew there were only exterior walls. Conference rooms appeared where the building should have ended, suspended over nothing but 23 stories of empty air. She looked at the wall behind her desk, solid plaster and glass, exactly as it had always been. But on the screen, that wall showed a doorway leading to a corridor that stretched into impossible distance. Maya turned back to face the wall. It remained unchanged, solid, real. When she looked at the monitor again, the impossible doorway pulsed with soft light, inviting her forward. She approached the wall slowly, her hand extended. Her fingers should have met solid plaster. Instead, they passed through open air. The wall was gone. Beyond it stretched a corridor lined with fluorescent lights that flickered in sequence, creating the illusion of movement towards some distant destination. Maya jerked her hand back, but the opening remained. Cool air flowed through it, carrying the scent of ozone and something else. The peculiar smell of printed maps, of paper and ink and geographical certainty made manifest. She needed to leave. Now. Maya turned toward the elevator banks but stopped short. The familiar hallway had changed. What should have been a straight path to the elevators now curved to the right. The corridor stretched much longer than before, and doors appeared along the walls where she knew there were only supply closets. The elevator doors were gone. Where they should have been, the hallway continued, branching into a T-junction that definitely hadn't existed 5 minutes ago. Maya pulled out her phone and opened the building's emergency evacuation map. The diagram showed her current floor, but the layout matched what she was seeing now, not how the building was actually constructed. Impossible corridors. Rooms that extended beyond the building's footprint. Stairwells that led to floors that didn't exist. She ran toward where the stairwell should be, her footsteps echoing strangely in the transformed space. The corridor seemed to stretch as she moved, each step taking her further from her destination rather than closer. The building was reshaping itself around her, following the corrupted blueprints displayed on her abandoned monitors. Behind her, the screens continued their steady hum, mapping new realities with each passing second. The red dot that represented her location pulsed faster now, like a heart rate monitor registering panic. Maya realized she was no longer moving through her familiar office building. She was navigating something new, something that existed only because it had been mapped into being, and she was both its creator and its first victim. Maya found a stairwell that definitely hadn't been there before. The door was marked "Emergency Exit" in crisp, official lettering, but the metal felt wrong under her palm. Too smooth, too perfect, like it had been rendered rather than manufactured. She didn't care. She pushed through and descended, taking the steps 2 at a time. The stairwell should have taken her 23 floors down, but she lost count somewhere around the 40th floor and kept going. The emergency lighting cast everything in harsh geometric shadows that seemed to shift when she wasn't looking directly at them. Finally, mercifully, she reached a door marked "Ground Floor Exit." Maya burst through it and found herself standing on the sidewalk outside. The cool night air hit her face, and she took deep, gulping breaths of what she hoped was reality. But as she looked around, her relief curdled into something colder. The street was Crescent Drive, the same residential street from Milwaukee that shouldn't have existed. Modest homes lined both sides of the road, their windows glowing with warm domestic light. A child's bicycle lay on its side in a front yard, exactly as she'd seen in the satellite imagery hours ago. Maya turned around. Her office building was gone. In its place stood a 2-story house with blue shutters and a well-maintained garden. The address placard by the front door read 247 Crescent Drive. She walked to the middle of the street, trying to orient herself. Every direction looked the same, suburban homes stretching into darkness, streetlights creating pools of yellow illumination that revealed nothing beyond their borders. No downtown skyline, no familiar landmarks, just the quiet domesticity of a neighborhood that existed only in corrupted satellite data. Maya pulled out her phone. No signal, but the GPS app was still running, and it showed her location with disturbing precision. She was standing at the exact coordinates where her office building should be, but the map displayed only residential streets. Crescent Drive, Elm Grove Terrace, Riverside Park, all the impossible places she'd discovered were now mapped around her in a perfect spiral pattern. She tried to walk back the way she came, but every street led to another street just like it. The houses never changed. The same bicycle in the same yard. The same Christmas lights hanging from the same gutters. She was walking through a loop, a neighborhood that existed only in relation to itself. After what felt like hours of walking, Maya stopped under a streetlight and opened her mapping app again. Her location showed as a pulsing blue dot, but the coordinates read unknown. Below that, in smaller text, "Location services unavailable. You are not where you think you are." She had never seen that message before. As she stared at her phone, new streets began appearing on the map around her current location. The spiral was expanding, reality reshaping itself to accommodate her presence. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the steady hum of servers and the soft clicking of a mouse. Maya looked up at the house that had replaced her office building. In one of the upstairs windows, a blue glow flickered, the unmistakable light of computer monitors. Someone was still working the night shift, mapping new realities into existence. And Maya realized with growing horror that she might be the next error report someone would try to correct. But until then, she would keep walking these impossible streets, forever lost in a geography that existed only because she had looked too closely at the spaces between what was real and what was mapped.